Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talk with Hana. I'm so happy you're here with us today. Honestly, every time we record a new episode, I get so excited because I know we're going to learn something really useful together.
Hey, great to be back. And today is a good one. I've been looking forward to this episode all week. Seriously.
Same. I was actually thinking about this topic in the shower this morning. I kept asking myself, why is it that some people pick up English so fast and others feel stuck for years? And then it hit me.
And that's exactly what today's episode is all about. Today, we're talking about how to unlock your brain to speak English naturally.
Yes, and by the end of this episode, you're going to understand how your brain actually learns a language, what's stopping you from speaking naturally, and what you can start doing right now, today, to change that.
I love it. Here's a question for you, our listeners. Do you ever feel like you know a lot of English, but when it's time to speak, nothing comes out? Like your brain just freezes? Drop a comment below and tell us yes or no.
Oh, I think almost everyone can relate to that. And if that's you, this episode is literally made for you. Make sure you're subscribed to Talk with Hana so you never miss an episode like this one.
All right, let's jump in and start unlocking that brain.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you try to speak English, because I think a lot of learners blame themselves. They think, I'm just not good at languages, but that's not the problem at all.
Right, and the real reason is actually something called the translation habit. So let me explain. When most learners want to say something in English, their brain goes through a process like this. First, they think the idea in their native language, then they translate it word by word into English, then they try to say it out loud.
And that process takes so much time. By the time you've finished translating in your head, the moment has passed, the conversation has moved on, and you feel embarrassed, so next time you stay quiet.
Exactly. Here are some examples of what that looks like. Someone says, "What did you do yesterday?" And instead of answering naturally, you freeze. Or a friend texts you in English and you spend 5 minutes drafting a reply because you're translating every word. Or you're watching a movie in English and you miss half the jokes because you're still translating the sentence before.
Oh, yes, that movie one, I felt that personally. I used to pause films every 30 seconds just to catch up. It's exhausting.
Here's the thing though, this isn't a you problem, this is just how your brain was trained. And here's the good news, you can retrain it. The brain is flexible. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, which just means your brain can change and build new habits.
So basically, right now your brain has a well-worn path that goes native language first, then English. And what we want to do is build a new direct path. English thought, straight to English speech. No translation in the middle.
Yes, and the formula is simple. Think in English plus speak in English equals fluency. No translation step. When you remove that middle step, everything speeds up.
Think about babies for a second. They don't learn English by translating from another language. They just hear sounds, connect them to things and feelings, and slowly start using them. That direct connection is what we're trying to rebuild as adult learners.
So here's a question for you, our listeners. Do you think in right now, when you're just relaxing and your mind is wandering, what language are those thoughts in? Tell us in the comments. It's a really interesting thing to notice about yourself.
And don't worry if the answer is definitely not English yet. That's totally normal, and that's why you're here. The negative version of the habit is native language thought, then translation, then English speech. And the positive version we're building is English thought, English speech. Direct, fast, natural.
So to recap this section, your brain translates because that's the habit it built. But habits can change. And in the rest of this episode, we're going to show you exactly how to build that new habit.
Okay, so now that we understand why the brain struggles, let's talk about how to actually start thinking in English, because this is where it gets practical and fun.
And I want to be clear, thinking in English doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you suddenly become a native speaker overnight. It just means you start using English as your first language of thought, even if the thoughts are simple.
So here's something I started doing a few years ago that really helped me. I call it the narrate your life method. Basically, you just describe what you're doing in English in your head as you do it. Like when I'm making coffee in the morning, I think, I'm putting the water in. Now I'm waiting for it to boil. I'm so sleepy.
That's such a good one. And you'd be surprised how quickly this trains your brain because you're using real vocabulary, real grammar in a real moment, not a textbook sentence, your actual life.
Exactly. Let's compare two ways of approaching this. The old way, you see your dog and you think, in your native language, then translate "my dog is cute" into English. The new way, you see your dog and your brain immediately goes, "Oh, she's so fluffy. I love her so much."
You can also do this with your daily routine. First, when you wake up, have one simple English thought, just one. It can be, I'm tired, or it's cold today. Second, when you eat lunch, try to name what you're eating in English in your head. Third, at night, think of 2 or 3 things that happened during the day in English.
Can I add something here? Talking to yourself in English is also incredibly powerful. And I know that sounds a little strange, but it works. When you're alone, just start talking about anything. Your plans for the day, what you want for dinner, how you're feeling.
Informal English is great for this. In formal English, you might say, I'm feeling rather tired this evening. But in natural everyday English, you just say, I'm exhausted, honestly, or, what a long day.
So now here's a little practice activity. I want you to say these things out loud in English right now. Ready? Say what I'm doing right now. Then say how the weather feels today. Then say one thing you want to do after watching this.
We also want you to write one sentence in the comments using natural English. Describe where you are right now. Are you on the bus, in bed, at a cafe? Tell us. Using English to describe your real life is one of the fastest ways to unlock your brain. To sum up, think in English during daily moments, narrate your life, talk to yourself, and use informal, natural expressions.
Now let's talk about something that a lot of learners skip, and it's a big mistake. We're talking about the balance between input and output when it comes to training your brain.
So, input means what goes into your brain, things you listen to, watch, and read in English, and output means what comes out, what you say and write. Most learners do a lot of input, a lot of watching and listening, but very little output, and that's why they understand English well but can't speak it.
It's like someone who watches cooking videos every day but never actually cooks. You can know every recipe by heart, but if you've never touched the pan, you can't cook. Speaking English is the exact same way.
Here are some powerful input habits to train your brain in the right way. Watch English content without subtitles, or at least with English subtitles, not your native language. Listen to English podcasts, like this one, and pay attention to how sentences are structured, not just the vocabulary. Read simple English articles or stories, and notice how ideas connect.
And here's a tip for making input even more effective, what we call active listening. Instead of just hearing English in the background while you scroll on your phone, actually tune in. Repeat sentences quietly after the speaker. Pause and try to predict what comes next. Ask yourself, how would I say this?
Now for output, and this is where a lot of people feel nervous, but I want to say something really important. Speaking imperfectly is 1,000 times better than not speaking at all. Every time you try to speak English, even if you make mistakes, you're training a new neural pathway in your brain.
Think of it like a muscle. The first time you go to the gym, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, maybe even a little painful, but you keep going, and slowly your muscles get stronger. Your speaking muscle works the exact same way.
So here are some practical output exercises. First, find a language partner online. There are apps and websites just for this. Even 15 minutes of real conversation a week makes a huge difference. Second, record yourself speaking. Talk about a topic for 1 minute, then listen back. Notice what felt natural and what felt forced.
I want to do a little interactive practice with you right now. I'm going to say something and you say it back out loud. Ready? Repeat after me. I'm trying to unlock my brain. Say it again. I want to speak English naturally. One more. Every day, I'm getting better.
Say those sentences out loud, seriously, right now, not in your head, out loud. Because the physical act of speaking, using your mouth, your voice, your breath, that's what trains the brain. This is the whole structure. Input builds understanding, output builds fluency, and doing both together builds a brain that speaks English naturally.
Okay, let's talk about mistakes, and not just learner mistakes. I have made every single one of these myself, so please don't feel bad. These are super common.
Mistake number 1, waiting until you're ready to speak. This one is huge. So many learners say, I'll start speaking when my English is better. But here's the thing, your English gets better by speaking. It's like waiting to swim until you're afraid of water. You have to get in the pool.
The incorrect approach is I don't speak yet because I make too many mistakes. The correct approach is I speak now and I learn from my mistakes. The reason the first one doesn't work is because perfection is a trap. Nobody speaks a perfect language, not even native speakers.
Mistake number 2, memorizing lists of vocabulary without using them. I used to have these long flashcard sets, hundreds of words, and I could write them perfectly on a test, but I could never use them in a real sentence under pressure. Memorizing, sophisticated, adjective, having a refined knowledge. Using it, oh, she has a very sophisticated taste in music, don't you think?
The reason it's wrong to just memorize is that your brain stores vocabulary differently depending on how you learned it. Words learned in context in a real situation are stored in a way that's much easier to access when you're speaking. Words memorized from a list are stored more like trivia, useful for a quiz, not for a conversation.
Mistake number 3, avoiding English when it's difficult. When a word doesn't come to you, the instinct is to switch to your native language or just go silent. But try this instead. Describe it. If you don't know the word kettle, say the thing you use to boil water. That is communication.
Mistake number 4, comparing yourself to native speakers. Oh, this one hurt me for years. I'd hear a native speaker and think, I'll never sound like that. But you don't need to sound like a native speaker to be understood, respected, and confident. Your accent is part of your identity. Keep it.
Try this. Think of a time you avoided speaking English because you were scared. Now imagine what you would have said if you weren't scared. How would the sentence go? Write it in the comments. And to everyone listening, making mistakes means you're trying, and trying is the only way to get better.
Okay, it's time for a little game. We call this Choose the Better Sentence. I'll give you 2 options, and you choose which one sounds more natural. Ready?
Option 1, situation. You're tired after work. Option A, I am experiencing fatigue due to my work activities. Option B, I'm so tired I can barely keep my eyes open. Which one sounds natural? Say it out loud.
Obviously option B, right? Option A isn't wrong, but nobody talks like that. Natural English is direct and personal. The goal isn't to sound smart, it's to connect with the person you're talking to.
Option 2, situation. Your friend asks if you want to eat out tonight. Option A, that sounds good to me. Option B, I would be amenable to that proposition. Say the natural one out loud.
Option A every time. You know, one thing that really helps is paying attention to formality levels. Casual conversations with friends sound very different from, say, a job interview. But for everyday life, simple and warm is always the right choice.
Option 3, situation. You don't understand something someone said. Option A, I beg your pardon, could you kindly repeat that? Option B, sorry, could you say that again? Both are fine, but option B is what most people actually say. Try saying it right now.
Okay, here's a challenge. Create your own sentence describing something that happened to you today. It doesn't have to be interesting, it doesn't have to be long. Just one real, honest English sentence, and post it in the comments. We read every single one.
Remember, a good sentence you actually say is always better than a perfect sentence you keep inside your head. Real conversation is messy and imperfect, and that's completely okay.
Okay, we are getting close to the end of today's episode, and I honestly feel so energized. We covered so much, didn't we? Let's do a quick recap of what we learned.
Yes. Number 1, we talked about why your brain translates instead of speaking directly, and why that's just a habit, not a permanent condition. Number 2, we explored practical ways to start thinking in English, like narrating your daily life and talking to yourself. Number 3, we looked at how to balance input and output and why you have to actually speak to build fluency.
And the big takeaway from all of this, your brain can change. It's not too late, you're not too old, your accent isn't a problem, and your mistakes are proved that you're learning. Every single effort you make is building new pathways in your brain, every single one.
Here's a reflective question for you before you go. What is one small thing you can do today, just today, to start thinking more in English? Maybe it's narrating your morning routine. Maybe it's leaving a comment on this video in English. Maybe it's talking to yourself for 1 minute. What will it be?
We'd love to know. Leave your answer in the comments below. And if this episode helped you, please give it a like. It really helps us reach more learners just like you. Share it with a friend who's learning English too. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Talk with Hana and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. We are genuinely so proud of you for showing up, for listening, for trying. Keep going, keep speaking, keep unlocking that brain. We'll be right here cheering you on. See you next time.